What is up, horror fans? Welcome back to another episode of Bloodbath Horror Talk here on Sadistic Clown Productions. And in today's episode, we're going to be talking about various horror franchises ranging from Friday the 13th all the way to Scream and beyond. So we're going to start this off with talking about the Child's Play franchise and two movies that I absolutely hate. But before we get into all that, I am your host, Devin. And we are going to get started right here, right now, on Bloodbath Horror Talk. So we're going to start off with talking about the Child's Play franchise and two movies that I absolutely hate. And you're shocked to hear me say that about the Child's Play franchise, are you? But it's not what you think. It's Bride of Chucky and Seed of Chucky. Those movies, I hate those movies, man. And I know that's gonna, I know a lot of people are gonna be shocked by that statement and probably even hate me for that statement. But I just don't like those movies, man. I just don't. Why did those movies have to be made? What was the reason? Who even decided, hey, let's make movies, and possibly some of the worst movies ever, and let's see where we go from here. Yeah, that worked out. That worked out real good. Yeah, real good now. Right. So, you want to make a horror movie franchise, and you put two of the dumbest movies in it. Bride of Chucky and Seed of Chucky, really. First of all, we have to ask a couple of questions. Like, how does Tiffany have boobs in doll form? And how the hell can Chucky ejaculate? Even though I know they're slowly becoming human, I don't think they should have that part to them yet. Ain't no way. I'm not saying make the Child's Play movies family friendly. Why would you do that? They're good the way they are. But Bride of Chucky and Seed, no, I can't even sit down and watch those fully without being like, yeah, nope, I just want to leave the room. Get me out of here. I literally turn to a different movie if I don't want to watch those movies, because hell no, I don't want to sit through those. No. No, thank you. Why would I want to sit through this? Why? Who wants to sit through that crap? Who wants to sit through that crap shoot? Not me. I got better things to do. Okay? I got better things to do than go and sit through Bride of Chucky and Seed of Chucky. Okay? I'd rather go sit through Scream. I just hate those movies, man. Let's move on to something else. Let's stop talking about them, and let's talk about the Saw franchise. Yes, the Saw franchise. Pretty good movies. Pretty good movies. Gruesome movies. Yeah. Now, I understand that John Kramer is trying to punish these people, get them to recognize that the crimes they committed were wrong and in some way insensitive. Yes, I understand where John Kramer is coming from with that, but what I don't understand is where he's coming from. Like, why do they have to die in your traps? Why not just keep them in the trap for a day, torture them for a bit, and then be done with it? Why do they have to die? Now, that reverse bear trap, that is an idea. The reverse bear trap, holy shit. That's an idea. It's a brutal idea. It's awfully brutal. Oh yeah. Get to this on time, or your jaw is going to be on the other side of your body. God damn. Oh my god, are you kidding me? Yeah. That's how the Saw franchise is. But I love those movies. I really do. Like, those, I'm sorry to say it, but they were a part of my childhood, man. Saw was a part of my childhood. Just like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre was. But my favorite out of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise has to be the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2003, and we're going to talk about it. Because that is a great movie, and Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the beginning isn't bad either. But we're going to start off with talking about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2003. And it's a good movie, man. Great movie. I love it. I just love a franchise. I just love horror, man. Like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. You get the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2003. Leatherface is actually intimidating in that movie. In the first one, he's not as intimidating. In Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2003, though, you get up to that movie, he's intimidating. This guy's a dump truck. Leatherface will stomp you the fuck out in 2003. But you go back to the original, and honestly, in the original, Leatherface just seems like a puss boy. What's that gonna do? Nothing. What's Leatherface from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2003 gonna do? Rip your lung out straight through your chest? Yeah. Yeah. Be shocked by that answer. I don't give a crap. But that's exactly what Leatherface is planning on doing to you. He is going to rip your fucking lung out through your chest and feed it to you. That's Leatherface. That's the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That's what he's going to do. He's going to destroy you in every way possible. And he will not leave a part of you untouched. Much like Art the Clown in the Terrifier franchise. Great segue here. Because the Terrifier franchise is gruesome. The Terrifier franchise is just one of those franchises where you look at it and the content of the movie legitimately makes you want to puke. Like in the first one, when you get that visual of that bathroom just covered in shit after what Art the Clown did to it, no thank you. Like, especially if you're trying to eat popcorn in the theater while you're watching Terrifier. Why did they have to go for that? Why? Like, God? Like, why? It's disgusting. It's horrid. Why go to that level? I have never seen any movie even... Well, I've seen movies close to that level before. If we're talking about Rob Zombie horror movies, I've seen The Devil's Rejects. I've seen a few Rob Zombie movies come close to the level that Terrifier has, but not even half as close to the level that Terrifier is at, because Terrifier, the Terrifier franchise is something else. You know, the Terrifier franchise is its own separate entity, and like, Jesus Christ, the kills in that movie are just brutal. It's goddamn, man. It's wow. Okay. You know, it's one thing when you see a head turn into a jack-o'-lantern in Halloween 2018, and it's just two officers killed and put in a position that's disturbing, right? That kill in Halloween 2018 is disturbing, but you pump up the level to where it's displayed on a counter after you just hollowed out the head of a victim you killed, slid it onto the counter like Art the Clown did in that pizza shop scene in Terrifier. Like, God, the levels that Terrifier went to, the levels that Damien Leone went to for this movie. Jesus, like, Art the Clown, you were disturbing in All Hallows Eve, but you bumped that up a few notches. You got yourself Terrifier. I've also seen Terrifier 2, like, and the gore is pumped up in that one. The gore is pumped up in Terrifier 2. You know, Art the Clown completely engulfs a person in flames. Like, you see Art the Clown screaming with a person's body that doesn't have any skin on it. Okay, alright. You see a woman's head turned into jelly by a double-barrel shotgun. And most of these kills, you gotta thank Art the Clown for, because we wouldn't have the Terrifier franchise without anything close to that. And I haven't even seen Terrifier 3, so I'm not even prepared for what Terrifier 3 is gonna give me. I am really not. I am not prepared for what Terrifier 3 might hand me. But, you know, once I do watch it, you know I'll be talking about it right here on Bloodbath Horror Talk. But, like, seriously. Okay. God. And then you have Us by Jordan. Us. You have Jordan Peele's Us. Which, damn, is a dark, dark concept. Like, imagine you're just chilling casually in your house. All of a sudden, you look out your living room window and see clones of yourself standing on your driveway holding pairs of golden scissors, ready to end your fucking existence. That's pretty much what this movie is. That's pretty much what Us is. Like, and they're called the Tethered. They're clones of you, but what do they want to kill you for? Like, I know they want to kill you and take over your place, but what is the use? I don't understand the Tethered's motives. I understand they want to kill you and take your place, but why? Why? I understand you're confined to wherever that underground world is, and if the Tethered were real, it would be a shock to find out, you know? It'd be a shock to find out that you're gonna get killed by a fucking doppelganger of yourself within a fucking day or two, okay? Alright? You're gonna get, like, seriously. And Us is also a pretty brutal movie. Us is definitely a pretty brutal movie, and Jordan Peele did a really good job on that movie. Jordan Peele did an excellent job on Us. Much like M. Night Shyamalan did with Devil. Yes, we're talking about M. Night Shyamalan movies now. Because M. Night Shyamalan did an excellent job with Devil. I like the concept of Devil. Being trapped in an elevator with the devil himself and not knowing who he is possessing in that moment. Until the end of the movie where, spoiler alert, yes I know, we go heavy spoilers on this show. Till the end of the movie where you realize he's possessing a little old lady. And wants to choose somebody to drag down to hell. Well, guess what? Not today, Satan. You ain't dragging me down. Drag one of these other lonely motherfuckers down. They're probably not even suspecting it. I'm sorry to say, but they're probably not suspecting you to come swooping down and take their asses to hell. Hell, I'd expect to get a Sears gift card faster than I would be expecting to be drugged to hell. Hell, I'll probably kill over in my 70s sitting right here behind... I'll probably kill over in my 70s right here behind a computer just talking to you guys. I'll probably be like, "What's up, guys? Welcome to another video." Somebody will watch that clip back, take it, upload it to YouTube, and guess what? You'll be watching an old man have a heart attack on YouTube, and that'll be the most horrifying thing you can think of. Right? Oh, but geez. Yeah, M. Night Shyamalan also has some other good movies, but none better than Devil. You know, when you really talk about horror, you can't talk about horror without mentioning Stanley Kubrick. And The Shining. Or even Stephen King and The Shining. Or Misery and Rob Reiner. Yeah. We're going to talk about those. First we're going to talk about The Shining. Then we're going to talk about Misery. So let's start off on our tangent about The Shining. Because The Shining, excellent. Excellent movies. Well, movie. Well, they're actually two. Stephen King's movie adaptation, and then Stanley Kubrick's, which King himself admits to not liking very well. But I love it. I love Jack Nicholson as Jack Torrance. Like, nothing can get better than Stanley Kubrick's The Shining. Like, that movie is equal parts disturbing. It's equal parts... Like, think about it. Think about the horrifying isolation you'd have to endure in a hotel on a hill covered in snow. Like, they're literally stuck in this giant motel on a hill, possibly by themselves. Who the knows, you know? But it's insane. It's insane to me. In the Overlook Hotel, they couldn't have picked a better location for it. Like, we would never know that the Overlook Hotel was the Stanley Hotel in Colorado. But I am, like, I've never been to the Stanley Hotel yet. I want to go. Because I want to see the Stanley Hotel. I really do. And you know, if we do, there will be a vlog video on the main channel. So, yeah. But, yeah. It's like, yeah. And, you know, you also can't talk about horror without talking about A Nightmare on Elm Street. Or Robert Englund. Okay? Or Wes Craven. Okay, because Wes Craven brought us two great horror franchises. A Nightmare on Elm Street and Scream. Scream. Fucking king. A Nightmare on Elm Street. Legendary. Okay. My favorite being A Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors. Because that movie kicks the biggest ass in the horror franchise. And I am not kidding you. A Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors is probably one of my, if not my most favorite horror movie. In the A Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. Not completely. Because that top spot for my number one favorite horror movie belongs to the Scream. Belongs to Ghostface. Belongs to Scream. Does not, however, belong to A Nightmare on Elm Street. That belongs to fourth. Because in third is Friday the 13th Part 5. And in second is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2003. With Halloween following close behind in fifth. No, but if you want me... But, actually, a little side note here. If you want me to do a tier list video ranking my favorite horror movies, let me know. And I might just have to do that. Which I might just do it anyway. But still, let me know if you want to see that. Let me know if it's something you're interested in. Alright, anyways. So, alright. Let's talk about I Know What You Did Last Summer. Holy crap, those are some good horror movies. And I will say I haven't seen the new I Know What You Did Last Summer, but I do plan to watch that. I'm sorry. I know you guys are disappointed. Fuck, I know you are, but I really need to watch more horror movies. I should have mentioned when I first mentioned these, I should say I haven't seen some of them. I can confirm that I have watched all of the Scream movies. I can confirm I have watched all of the Halloween franchise. I can confirm that I've watched every Nightmare on Elm Street movie. And I can confirm that I've seen a majority of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre films. But I cannot confirm that I have seen the newer I Know What You Did Last Summer films. I saw the older three, but not the new one. Now, a couple of the older three, I know as horror fans we can all agree, a couple of the classic I Know What You Did Last Summer movies aren't the best. Such as I Still Know What You Did Last Summer and I'll Always Know What You Did Last Summer. Those movies are not really up to code with what I Know What You Did Last Summer really should be. I Know What You Did Last Summer, but really will stay a franchise in my heart, though, alongside Scream. Because, again, I Know What You Did Last Summer is actually part of my childhood. I saw that movie at, like, 12 years old when my mom was watching it, and, yeah. A few other movies I've seen in childhood is The Devil's Rejects, directed by Rob Zombie, Halloween, directed by John Carpenter. You know? Yeah. All great movies. Everything about those movies is great. Holy shit. You couldn't ask for a better franchise, for a better genre if you wanted to. Horror is that genre that you should be asking for. And yeah. And you know, it's some horror movies. There are some horror movies I hate. For real. There are some horror movies I genuinely despise. Okay? Alright. But anyway, we're going to talk about the ones I like. No, I'm just kidding. We'll talk about the ones I hate in a future episode. But in this episode, we're going to stick to some of the horror franchises that, you know, are appreciated. Let's talk about The Strangers. Okay, The Strangers. Really, really good horror franchise, right? Great. The Strangers kind of sits in my top 10. I'd have to say. I like a couple of the newer Strangers movies too, such as The Strangers Chapter 1 and The Strangers Chapter 2. I like those movies. I know a lot of people don't like them, but I like them. I like all the Strangers movies. The Strangers Pray at Night being my all-time favorite, though, because I can't get enough of that pool scene where Bonnie Tyler's, where Bonnie Tyler's Total Eclipse of the Heart is playing. I can't get enough of that singing. Like, you couldn't have chose a more perfect song for that singing if you had tried. Okay? That scene is just so fucking good. There are a lot of scenes that I can say are pretty damn good in horror movies. Like fucking, a couple of scenes from Children of the Corn are really good too. Children of the Corn, we have not talked about that on this show. But let's finish our conversation about The Strangers, and then we'll jump into Children of the Corn. How about that? Okay, cool. Alright, so I love the Strangers franchise. My number one favorite horror movie, like I said, The Strangers Pray at Night, but the classic one. That feeling of just isolation. No escape. Like, the very first Strangers movie really does well with that feeling of, oh fuck, there's really no escape from these guys. These guys are here to kill me. I can't escape this. I guess I'm fucked. Okay? Because you really are. When it comes to a certain situation in a horror movie, you're fucked. There's no way out of it. You're not going to escape, okay? You either need to hope and pray that a cop is going to come save you, or someone's going to hear your fucking scream in the long run. Because if nobody's going to hear your scream, fuck it. You might as well not even waste your breath screaming. Because if you are, you're preparing to die. You know, kind of like the plot with The Quiet Place and The Silence. Okay? Because those are like modern day silent films, for real. Even though they're not very silent at times, there's like modern day silent films. Oh yeah, let's go watch A Quiet Place, and you're sitting in the theater like, who the fuck is gonna talk? No, but seriously. Though A Quiet Place and The Silence is pretty good. Bird Box, great horror movie as well. But yeah, as we wrap up talking about the Strangers franchise here, yeah. But like, not many movies can blow it out of the water like certain franchises do, and certain franchises, like the Strangers franchise, often blow their movies out of the water. Blumhouse. I feel like they're gonna blow. Let's talk about Blumhouse real quick, because I feel like they're gonna blow their new Backrooms movie out of the water. I really do. I feel like they're really gonna do great on this Backrooms movie. It's gonna be a really. I can't wait to personally see this Backrooms movie. I can't. I cannot wait to see it. I know it's gonna be good. I have to see Five Nights at Freddy's 2 as well. I know it's out on Peacock right now, and I do intend to go watch it. So, I am gonna go maybe tonight. Maybe tonight. I'll watch Five Nights at Freddy's 2. And then report back to you guys tomorrow with a little review video. talking about Five Nights at Freddy's 2, or we'll talk about it in a future episode of Bloodbath Horror Talk right here on Sadistic Clown Productions. So yeah, you want to see that? Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss when we release a new episode of Bloodbath Horror Talk. But anyway, let's move into talking about the Hills Have Eyes 2006 for a minute. Fuck, dude. Like, I'm speechless. It's such a damn good movie. It really is such a good movie. I can't... Like, The Hills Have Eyes 2003, dude. Such a fucking banger of a film. Like, I can't express how much I love that movie. Like, you could shit gold, and it wouldn't be worth more to me than watching that movie is. Because that is a fucking terrific film. I could sit through that movie and watch it twice. I don't say that about many movies. I really don't. Movies like The Blair Witch Project, fuck, I could sit through that and watch it twice. Okay? I could sit through a couple fucking movies and watch them twice. There are a lot of movies I could sit through and watch them twice, man. I could sit back and watch, I could binge watch the entire fucking Scream franchise if I wanted to, okay? I really could. I have that option. I could binge watch the entire fucking Scream franchise from start to finish. Alright. Speaking of the Scream franchise, let's actually veer off of the movies now and talk about moments in the movies. Like Randy's monologue from Scream 1. Now, those horror rules, they might apply. Like, if you're watching a horror movie, alright, like say this, you've watched Scream, right? So now you're going to go watch another horror movie and try to apply Randy's horror movie rules to it, like Friday the 13th. Okay? You're going to apply Randy Meek's horror rules to Friday the 13th, and you're probably going to see some parallels to what Randy said and what takes place in the movie, okay? Because while you... Yes. Okay. Rule number 1. Basic rule. Don't say I'll be right back. Or actually, rule number 1 was no drinking and no sex. So, of course, the teenagers in Friday the 13th are drinking and having sex. So you know they're on the chopping block. Because they're drinking and fucking. So of course they're going to be on the chopping block. Okay? Of course they are. And, of course, there are people saying, I'll be right back. They're, you know... You will see Randy's horror movie rules being broken in many ways. And then you go and Scream 2. You listen to his monologue about horror movie rules in sequels. Okay. Those work pretty good too. Alright. You listen to his advice about fucking horror rules in franchises, in, you know. It's like he said, and I believe they were watching this tape in Scream 3. It's like he said in Scream 3. Alright, we're dealing with something superpowered. You're not going to be able to shoot it. You're not going to be able to stab it. That's Jason. In a nutshell. Alright, you go to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise. Alright, you see that a majority of Randy's horror movie rules have been followed. Okay? Because you don't see one sex scene from that movie. You know, by the way, I gotta say, something I would have expected from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise is at least some, like, okay, to be honest, when I watched the classic movie, I don't know why, right? But I expected the victim in the movie to get sexually assaulted. With a lot of horror movies, right? You expect that one element of, oh, the killer is a deviant, and he is doing this for sexual purposes. A lot of people affiliate that with Jason and Michael Myers. Okay? Alright? A lot of people do that with Jason and Michael Myers. They'll say that Jason doesn't like sex. They'll say that Michael only targets teenagers who are babysitting and having sex. That's... Well, and I don't think the babysitting has anything to do with that. Again, they think it's the sexual deviancy of these characters. And it's the fact that Michael Myers, yes, as a child, did witness sex. Yes, it's the fact that the counselors at Camp Crystal Lake were having sex when Jason drowned. Okay? Yes, we have that. But then again, people say that Michael Myers and Jason's crimes are sexually motivated and stuff like that. But with Leatherface, is his crimes based on identity? Are they based on his family predominantly making him do this? Or are they sexually motivated? Again, I am leaving the answer to this up to you guys. Please fill me in the comments. But, you know, yeah. With certain horror franchises, you gotta mix shit. Okay. Alright. Like with the Blair Witch Project. Okay, let's talk about the Blair Witch Project. Perfect foundation for a found footage horror film. Perfect foundation, okay? Because you have the isolation in the woods. You have everything. You have the recipe for a great found footage horror flick. You have the people going missing. You have the shit going down. Everything is just perfect. Okay, it's perfect. Down to the last minute details. The Blair Witch Project. Wow. The future the future Blair Witch movies, not as good. The classic Blair Witch Project, alone, isolated, and then you find this mysterious house in the woods. Okay, here's where the running theory comes in. Right? The running theory is... Excuse me. But the running theory is that Heather, Josh, I forgot the other guy's name they were with. Heather, I think it was Aaron. So we'll say Aaron. Heather, Josh, and Aaron. The running theory is that all three of them were pulled back in time to 1940. They weren't just lost in the woods, but they were pulled back through time. Which is why their camera gear isn't found until 1994. That's what people say, which is why their camera gear isn't found by police until 1994. But then again, I mean, that could make sense, right? They were pulled back through time, and then it took them a few years to find the camera equipment in the exact spot where they disappeared. Where that house used to probably stand. So they found the camera equipment. Now what? Like, I feel like if we would have had at least a scene, a little bit of like a post-credit scene, maybe of, say, an investigation taking place, right? The police trying to figure out what happened to them with no explanation as to why. But yeah. Now, this horror movie, you guys, a lot of you guys, a majority of you guys probably haven't heard about this horror movie, but if I say the name of it, holy shit, a lot of you might go off in the comments, but who knows? Mama. Mama is a very good horror movie. Okay? Mama holds... I don't know. Mama is a very good supernatural horror film, because you have this supernatural force attached to these girls after a traumatic event. Right, so I believe it was the girl's mother's sister who takes them in to take care of them, and the spirit of Mama happens to follow them and start leading them to do things that they shouldn't be doing. The spirit of Mama starts leading these girls to do things that they probably shouldn't be doing. They're drawing on walls, they're doing all this, they're doing all... And Mama's appearing throughout the house. Mama's starting to make appearances. It's starting to scare this lady. She doesn't know what's happening. Neither do we, the audience, until the climax of the movie, where one of the girls inevitably gives in to Mama. Because I think the history behind Mama in the movie is that she, for whatever reason, jumped off of a cliff with two of her kids. So that exact same cliff is where she's drawing these girls to. And only one of them goes, the other one doesn't. The other one the older sister breaks away from Mama. The younger sister gives in to Mama. But yeah. Alright. Let's jump into a conversation we should have been having a while back in one of these episodes. And that was the theories for Scream 8. Okay. So if we get an 8th Scream film, are we hoping to see Stu Macher alive? Yes. I hope I think we're hoping to see Stu Macher alive in some capacity. The reason I say this is because there's a lot of evidence pointing to Stu Macher still being alive. And I wholeheartedly believe, the first phone call Sidney gets in Scream 7, that first little FaceTime call with Stu Macher, I believe that's Stu. Okay? And listen up. You might not believe that that's Stu Macher, but I believe that that's Stu Macher. Now, a reason I believe that that's the real Stu Macher, right, is because these newer people that are killing in this movie, that I don't even know their fucking names, because I refuse to remember their fucking names, because the ending of Scream 7 is just so fucking bad. That Ghostface reveal is just... it's dog shit. Now, if it were really Stu that was the second Ghostface, we all in the theater would have been like, yeah! Fuck yeah! Stu! But did that happen? No. No, it did not. We didn't get any sign of Stu. The only signs we got of Stu were AI. But I'm going to go back and say that first call that Sidney Prescott gets, or Sidney Evans gets from Stu Macher, is the real Stu. And the only reason is because we have evidence within his dialogue, such as, I've always had a thing for you, Sid. Now let's look at that and say, why would someone using an AI version of Stu Macher say such a specific line, right? Why would someone using an AI version say such a specific line from Stu? Unless, per se, that person is a fan of Stu, they've watched the Stab franchise, and they heard Stu within Stab say, I've always had a thing for you, Sid, and they're just repeating that line from Stab. But that doesn't line up here. What does line up here, right? That's why we're here talking about this. What does line up here is the fact that only one person, and one person, would have said, I've always had a thing for you, Sid, and that's Stu Macher, minutes before getting that TV tossed on his head in 1996. That first call that Sid gets in Scream 7 is the real Stu Macher. So in Scream 8, the Ghostface cult, or whatever happens, is going to be revealed, and Stu Macher is going to be revealed as the big leader, the leader of this whole Ghostface cult, the leader of whatever the fuck is behind Ghostface, whatever is going on, whatever is giving Ghostface its power to continue into the modern world. You know, our post 1996 world. Well, actually, yeah, Yeah. Our shitty post 1996 Trump run fucking bullshit world. But, love it or hate it, these are just theories, But if Stu Macher is alive, right? The Ghostface cult is revealed. Whatever the hell is going on here is revealed. That'll be a staple on the Scream franchise. And another thing I'm going to say is they should only have 8 films in the Scream franchise. The reason I'm saying this is because if you look at the Stab franchise within Scream, you'll notice that it only has 8 films. So if they really want to line up with the Stab franchise, they will only have 8 films in the Scream franchise. If they move beyond 8 films, okay, sure. Then, evidently, somebody made a Stab film about what happened with Scream 7. Because then that would be Stab 9. Because in Scream 2022, we see Stab 8. So, technically, what would happen in Scream 7, or in Scream 6, would be Stab 9, and then Stab 10 would be Scream 7. Or the events thereof in Scream 7. So if they want to keep it consistent to the Scream franchise, where only 8 known Stab films exist, then there will remain only 8 known Scream films. And we can't be surprised, right? We can't be surprised that the Halloween franchise ended with Halloween Ends, right? And we can't be surprised if the Scream franchise ends with an 8th film. And that's what I'm banking on here. Because Commander K claims there will be 2 other Scream films, possibly after a Scream 8, or if we even get a Scream 8 to begin with. Because we still don't know. Maybe it's in production, maybe it's in the works, Maybe they've already gotten to work on a Scream 8 script or some shit, who knows. We haven't seen much about it, so once we start seeing some shit about it, we'll be talking about it right here. But yeah, it's like, fuck, man. With Scream 8, we've got a lot to theorize about before this shit even happens anyway. But yeah, I'm gonna say Stu Macher's gonna be alive, Ghostface cult revealed, boom, ending to the Scream franchise, definitive ending. That, or we go with a theory that Commander K proposed. Commander K proposed a theory that in Scream 8, Sidney Prescott dies, and Ghostface comes out on top. Do I believe that for a second? No. Do I believe that if they really wanted to devastate us, would they go that direction? Yes. I could see if that... I could see that. But I could also see the death of Sidney Prescott breaking the Scream franchise. Right? But let's just say this. If Laurie Strode beat Michael Myers, then Sidney Prescott can beat Ghostface. Now, it could have ended up being a whole different story with Laurie and Michael altogether. Because, spoiler alert here, I don't care what would you call it, in a canceled ending, in a scrapped ending to Halloween Ends, Laurie Strode was supposed to die. Okay. Hell, Scream 8 could end up getting a definitive ending where Ghostface dies. There could be a scrapped ending where Sidney was gonna die. Because, again, even with what us content creators do, we probably have to re-record stuff from time to time, right? Like, when I'm starting off, I'll give you a little behind the scenes right now. Like, when I was... Shit. Okay, where were we? Oh yeah, a little behind the scenes. So, whenever I'm recording an episode of this Devil Devin 360 News Nightly or any given video, I'll have to re-record it probably about 10 or 15 times before I'm actually happy with the final result. That, or if I'm happy with the quality of whatever I'm reacting to, or if, yeah, I'll do a few different things. I'll run a few different things, you know? Like, just before I started recording this main episode of Bloodbath Horror Talk, there were a few scrapped intros that I had to do to this before the main intro you heard. I had to do a lot of shit before I was happy with this. And I'm happy with where I'm going now, with what I'm doing now. We're already 45 minutes into this, so there's no going back now. You know. So, yeah. But, again, you know, and Thanksgiving, let's talk about that. And not the holiday. I'm talking the horror movie with John Carver. Right. Even though John Carver is a historic figure. A historic pilgrim, I guess you could say. Thanksgiving is a really good movie. I thoroughly enjoyed Thanksgiving. Eli Roth did a real good job with that movie. Like, for real. And even with the Grindhouse trailer. Like, I watch that Grindhouse trailer on YouTube from time to time, and I still can't get enough of it. Like, yeah. But you guys, you know, when you're thinking of an awesome horror movie, and you're thinking, I want to see this movie today, what horror movie are you thinking of, genuinely? Anyway, Happy Death Day. Yeah. Horror comedy at its finest. Happy Death Day is just such a good franchise. Happy Death Day is that one franchise that just never ceases to make me happy. I watch Happy Death Day every now and again when I want to get hyped up to actually step into my babyface costume. I often watch Happy Death Day. Because, yes, I do regularly put on a costume and play around in it to kind of, you know, make sure the clothing still fits, make sure none of it's ripped, and make sure the costume is ready for when I make my next skit. Which, on the topic of that, since skits are predominantly tied to this channel now, I want to give some updates right here, right now. So, breaking news. Skits are canceled. I am no longer doing skits. Just kidding. No, but, whenever I can get a new phone, because I broke my previous phone, I broke it a while ago, actually. Whenever I can get a new phone, I will be putting out more skits. Trust me. My sketch comedy is not going to come to an end, because I know for a fact that you guys enjoy that. You guys really do. I'm happy if you guys do enjoy it. I'm happy if you guys enjoy listening to me rant about horror movies on this show. I am legitimately happy with all of that. And, by the way, I refuse to mention this because I don't want it to sound like I'm begging, but we are trying to reach 100 subscribers here on Sadistic Clown Productions. So, if you would like to help me to reach my first 100 subscribers on this channel, make sure you subscribe. And stick around to see what horror content we come out with next, because I do want to get some, horror films done. Some, short horror films. Some fan films. I want to get some shit like that done and out on this channel, and those are going to be huge projects. When I can get to doing those are going to be big projects. That'll take me multiple days. Because if I'm going to do a full-length horror film for this channel, which I will do, that's going to take me multiple days. That's going to take me a while. And of course, we'll be talking about it every step of the way here on the show. But, yeah. But shit like that will just be really big projects. Really big. And they will take up a lot of my time. Just like something like doing an episode of a podcast like this. Like Devil Devin 360 News Nightly. This, Bloodbath Horror Talk. if I'm doing an hour-long episode like this, it takes me a while to do. Because I have to re-record, I have to do a bunch of shit until I'm happy with the product itself, and if I'm not happy with the product, then I don't release it. I really don't. You know? But yeah. And, alright. Let's talk about special effects for horror movies, because some of the blood effects in horror movies are really good. Some of the blood in horror movies looks really realistic. Some of it doesn't, on the other hand. Like with Terrifier, looks pretty good. The effects, the prosthetics, everything in that movie looks really fucking good. Friday the 13th, prosthetics. Everything with that movie looks great too. Child's Play. Fake blood. And I will point out, with fake blood in horror movies, it's really hard to get fake blood right sometimes, right? Like, it's gonna be really hard for me to get fake blood right from when I start doing horror movies and shit. But fake blood is really hard to get right, because sometimes it'll be too bright, too dark, or just right. Because you want to have that correct consistency when you're doing fake blood effects for a horror film. Like, you know, this paint color right here, when I use it on a mask, this paint color right here comes out looking exactly like blood. Exactly like what I need. You'll see it on a few things here. You'll see it on a few things around my around my room. You'll see some shit in here that has a little bit of blood on it. You know, you'll see a few masks that have a little bit of, you know, painted blood on them. You know, I even use this burnt umber right here to weather masks. And in case you were wondering, if you can't see, that is... there's that red, so... if you guys are doing any kind of horror projects, I highly recommend these two for, like, a mask project or something. I'm trying to decide whether or not I want to weather up Slasher's new mask a little bit. But I do intend to weather Slasher's spare mask, because he does have a spare mask. As you know, it was that mask we reviewed in that last video. But yeah. I will have a new character, Hollow Eyes, coming in, but he'll have an entirely different mask. I just have to decide what type of mask that's gonna be. But yeah. It's yeah. So yeah, let's talk about what I have coming up so far. So, coming up, I have a few more episodes of Haunted Hallway unboxing and review. There are some masks back there we still gotta look at. We still have a few masks down here I gotta look at. Well, no, only one more actually, and that's gonna be Jack Frost, who you'll see in the next episode of Haunted Hallway unboxing and review. So, of course, I got a couple more of those coming up. I will have a couple more cosplay reviews coming up when I have a new phone. For Devil Devin 360 Entertainment, I've got a few things coming up, so we'll talk about the main channel too, but we usually talk about stuff like that at the end of a main episode of Devil Devin 360 News Nightly, but we'll talk about it here too, just because I want you guys to know what I have coming up for all of my channels. So yeah, coming up on Devil Devin 360 Entertainment, we have another episode of Screwing Up People's Days and Papa's Games gonna come out probably tomorrow or the next day. And then we're gonna release another episode of Devil Devin 360 News Nightly, probably next Sunday, if I feel like it. Either next Saturday or Sunday. I feel like I want to try to do it every other week on a Saturday, because Saturdays are predominantly... what the fuck? I'm not even shaking my desk, and he just fell over on his own. John Carver here just fell over completely on his own. If you guys want to see a review of this guy, let me know. Little, sneak peek there. But we'll do a full review of him if you want to see that. Oh my god. But yeah. Yeah. But yeah, we got a lot of stuff coming up. For Demon TV, I'm not really sure what to do for that yet, but we'll figure it out. For me and Commander K's horror collab channel, I'm gonna be uploading a few more things. I'm gonna be re-uploading a few more things over there, stuff like that. You know, horror story wise, I'll be doing that. I'll be re-uploading those over there to me and Commander K's collab horror channel. And don't worry, the horror stories and stuff, those are still on the main channel if you want to check those out, and they will always be there. Alongside with, you know, the playlists also being visible on the homepage of this channel. But yeah. You know, as a horror fan and a content creator, this is what I was meant to be doing. I feel like creating content like this is sort of what I was meant to be doing. Talking about horror movies, doing stuff like that, creating content on my various other channels. This is what I was meant to be doing. This is what I want to do. I want to do this shit as a job. Even though YouTube is going completely in the shitter as a whole. But, you know, anyway. But yeah. What is Halloween 3 Season of the Witch? That's a really strange movie. Not one I've thought of checking out. Because the only reason I was thinking that, right? Because my brain tells me, dude, do not watch Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. Because it's going to be fucking stupid. Yet, a lot of people seem to love Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. And to them I say, I have no idea why you like that shit, but okay. You know, it's your choices in the end, so I don't want you to come crying to me when, yeah. But yeah, a lot of good horror movies, a lot of good stuff in the horror genre itself. You know, we have Fun World releasing their Scream or Ghostface 30th anniversary masks, you know, for the Scream franchise. We have a lot of shit coming out from different things. Like, we have Trick or Treat Studios, who and yes, I am going to point out, who recently started a Kickstarter for their Ultimate Leprechaun doll. And if you guys want to see that, I will probably link that Kickstarter down below. So, yeah, Trick or Treat Studios recently starting their stuff. Blumhouse coming out with the Backrooms movie. And I hope we're going to see a Five Nights at Freddy's 3 here at some point. A lot of stuff. I'm really hoping for a lot of stuff here. Yeah, but we always have a lot of news to cover here in the horror community, and yeah. You know, The Descent, Scream, Friday the 13th, all those horror movies, man, right here. Fuck. But yeah. When we do the next episode of this, I will tell you, we will be introducing a co-host, and that co-host is my buddy Damien, and I'm sure you guys will enjoy his presence here on the show. You guys will enjoy his jokes, his antics. You'll enjoy him. You'll enjoy him. He'll be a welcome addition to the show, and I trust that he will. So, yeah. But, you know, without any further ado, we're coming to the end of the episode here. So, I'm going to start it off by saying thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Bloodbath Horror Talk. And thank you so much for helping me with this channel, being a part of this, watching my content grow, watching me grow alongside that content. Thank you all. Thank you so much. This is from the bottom of my heart. Thank each and every one of you. From Devil Devon 360 Entertainment to right here on Sadistic Clown Productions. Thank you. With that being said, that is an hour I will see you guys in the next episode of Bloodbath Horror Talk. Alongside Damien. So, yeah. See you guys next time.